Town Square Media Station. One man to beat, you can forget about it. Touchdown, Alabama. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you watch the work out in the weight room. I was and I run in that position. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
I'm Martin, you're hot. 3, 2, 1.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. The Martin Houston Show fan page on Facebook. Is a beautiful Thursday morning. We're live and local and ready to get into some conversation with you. I want to invite you to get in on the conversation by going out to @MartinHouston35 on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you, so chat us up there. Martin Houston fan page at Martin Houston Live. And also, you can call us the traditional way. We'd love to hear from you and talk with you and chat with you at 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business, so give us a call. Let us hear from you this morning. Once again, that's Taco Casa. Taco Casa, quality, taste, value. Under the biggest cactus in town. Give them a shot at lunch and or dinner today, and they will make sure they take care of you. That's Taco Casa, tacocasa.com. And remember this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone. Be the difference you want to see in the world today. All right, well, it's finally out. We finally got a decision on an answer to a question that we've talked about and kicked the can on for months, and for several weeks, at least a month or so. SEC Media Days announced, so we'll talk about that. Are you surprised, disappointed? Were either of these two guys on your list as the possible participants? I had not heard anyone mention these two guys as the lead dogs for it, but we'll talk about that today as well, and also we'll have recruiting, some news around Alabama recruiting with Hank South 247 Sports, and of course we had a big commitment since the last time we spoke with him. We'll see what's up next. Also, some decommitments going on around the country that may impact Alabama as well, so we can bring that into the conversation. And you may or may not be watching the NBA Finals, but last night the Bucks tied the series up. Two players getting 40 points, one for each side, 40 or 40 plus, and of course, only one coming out the winner, and that was Middleton with the Bucks. So, Joe, did you get a chance to catch the game?
No, I kind of was a little tied up last night, but my buddy who's a Bucks fan told me that they pulled out the victory. Was it close?
Yeah, it was. Oh, yes, it was. It was extremely, extremely close, and at one point in the fourth quarter, it got to the point where it was a tie game, and Devin Booker was. Of course, I've told you I'm not a big Devin Booker fan, and I think I figured it out. It's his inner Kobe. I was never a Kobe Bryant fan, and they have so much alike, and that was his mentor. So maybe that's what it is. But he had his worst game the game before. If you want to to learn how to be a professional, Joe. He showed that last night because I give credit where credit is due. He had the worst, only the second time he had been held to 10 or less points all year, only the first time in the playoffs. He comes back last night and through 3 quarters had the most points. And I think they said the last 25 years through 3 quarters, he had 38 points in the finals. Matching, well, actually, maybe more than 25 years. It was Allen Iverson and Steph Curry. He had 38 points. But guess what? They got him in foul trouble. They got him in foul trouble. So he had to go sit the bench almost the entire first half of the fourth period. And that's when the Bucks, at one point I think they were down by 9 and they got it back tied. And this is where I have a problem, Joe. He had 5 fouls. And Drew Holiday was going up for a layup to put the game. It was a 3-point game for the Suns. He literally grabbed him by the waist, pulled his arm and everything to try to keep him from scoring because it was a 3-point game. It would have been a 6th foul. Everybody was shocked. The announcers, the refs never blew the whistle. He did it twice in the last couple minutes, and they just didn't call it. And I was like, oh, come on. That's obviously, they do that for not just him. I know that the NBA, they don't want their star players fouling out, especially in a tight game like that. But Giannis made a play. The MVP made a play, Joe, where he stopped Devin Booker from driving, and so Devin Booker threw up an alley oop to Ayton, who's a 7-footer himself, at the rim. Giannis pivots and then pins it and blocks it off the backboard, and they took it down. And of course, that's when they went from a 2-point lead, I think it was, to a 4-point lead, and they didn't give up the lead from there. So it was really a good game. So now it's a 3-game series, and like I said, I wanted Chris Paul to win his first title because I feel like the NBA screwed him a few years back, many years back, I should say, when he was going to leave New Orleans, and I think it was New Orleans, and go to the Lakers, and they blocked it because they didn't want super teams. so, uh, so there you go. Anyway, it was a good game though, and your friend he watched a good one if he watched it. But anyway, hey man, what do you think about the SEC Media Days? I got a couple different angles I want to go on it. One is the SEC are they sending the wrong message to the fans regarding COVID and SEC? The limitations that they're still worried about, but yet they're wanting these fans to fill up the stadiums. And were you surprised by Alabama's choices? So let's talk about the Alabama choices first. Any surprise there?
Oh, I think that you could probably. I think on the defensive end, you probably understand the choice. You don't understand both choices, but on the defensive end, you look at Phil Mathis towards the tail end of last year. He kind of stepped up as a more vocal leader in the last probably month or so of the season. But John Mechie over Brian Robinson is a little surprising to me. Not that to take anything away from John Mechie, but Brian Robinson being a local guy and being a 5-year guy, perhaps it means that he may not have as big a role in the offense as we initially thought. But I don't really think that that's what it means. Take who he's going up to Hoover with, who Nick Saban's taking to Hoover. I think that Nick Saban just took probably his best talking upperclassmen, or his upperclassmen that have the most confidence and comfort in front of a camera. And I think that Mathis has shown that he has had confidence in a press conference before. Mechie, I'm not quite remembering off the top of my head as being a press conference guy, being a speaker really. But maybe Coach Saban thinks that if Mechie's my next first round wide receiver, we got to get him in front of the cameras and and get him used to, do him a service by preparing him by putting him in front of a media scrum.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. Not we'll dig into it on the other side a little bit, but yeah, I was kind of surprised by the two guys. Um, some of the guys that I was thinking, especially since it makes it even more shocking since he did take an underclassman in Mechie. Mechie's just a second year player, right? Third. I mean, third. He was redshirted, um, and then this year, I mean, last year he stepped up big time. But Evan Neal, I thought Evan Neal may be an offensive guy. If it was, I thought it was going to be Brian Robinson. Truthfully, for the reasons you mentioned, local guy. Nick Saban loves loyalty. I mean, he just loves loyalty. So I thought it may be Brian Robinson in terms of um, putting him out there. And a lot of times, Nick Saban uses this to establish leadership on the team in terms of who he wants to step up, and so I thought it may be Brian Robinson in terms of that. So we'll talk about why he may have chose Mechie on the other side. On defense, I would have probably said if I had to pick a guy that was most likely, if it was going to be an upperclassman guy, I thought it may be Josh Jobe. Um, those two were like, if it was only going to be two guys, I thought those two guys. I thought maybe Christian Harris, but you bring up a good point. Maybe Christian Harris may not be as good in front of the camera. So we'll talk about those guys. Curtis Lewis has an interesting take on Mathis being uh, the being the guy taken. So we'll talk about why Curtis Lewis thinks what Mathis being chosen potentially means according to Curtis Lewis. If you want to get in on this conversation of whether you're excited, disappointed with the selections in terms of Alabama's players, who you thought should be there, and I'd like to ask you and challenge you, why do you think Nick Saban chose the guys he chose versus a lot of guys that I've heard other people mention? We're going to talk about that right here on the Martin Houston Show. We don't want to do it alone, so go ahead and get your phones out, 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business. Also, you can chat us up on our social media accounts at Martin Houston 35 and Martin Houston Live on Facebook. Next up, the next play call out of the playbook will be more conversation as we talk about SEC Media Days. And then later on, to kick off the second half, we'll dig into the playbook and bring in Hank South 247 Sports, a recruiting guru from Bama Online and 247 Sports.
Traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks, but we still have delays on 2059 eastbound due to paving on the interstate at the McFarland exit, so please use caution. If you see other conditions, just give us a call. Townsend Nissan has an awesome
Indeed's Instant Match searches through millions of resumes in Indeed's database to deliver candidates who fit your job description instantly. More at Indeed.com/credit. Tuscaloosa Locksmith and Tuscaloosa Gunsmith have moved to their new location at 1605 23rd Avenue behind the fire station just off of 15th Street.
Do you remember a time that you would go to the drive-in movie theater and have a blast as a kid? You can pass on the experience to a new generation every Saturday at dusk at Government Plaza. We are showing a movie in the park on a 30-plus foot screen. Our next movie is The Princess and the Frog. Food vendors on site. This is your chance to bring out the kids and enjoy a family-friendly event. It's free thanks to our sponsors, Pepsi, Bryant Bank, Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports, Burnham Lawn Exterminators, First Kids Urgent Care, the City of Tuscaloosa, and Town Square Media. Join us Saturday, July 17th at Government Plaza. Crawford Insurance and Child Abuse Prevention Services presents the 28th Nightlight Golf Tournament at Tall Pines Golf Course, Friday, August 6th. Registration begins at 3 p.m. and tee-off is at 4. $125 per player or $500 for a team of 4. Early registration starts today. Go to www.capstuscaloosa.com or call 205-758-1159. The Crawford Insurance and Child Abuse Prevention Services 28th Annual Nightlight Golf Tournament is sponsored by Town Square Media, Buffalo Rock, Tony Brown of Precious Memories, and Michael McComb, Allstate Agency.
Mike, I understand you need the parts.
Carly's Car Shop demands more engine-fixing horsepower. They need to floor it to find their staff some backup.
We need to finish up that crew today. It cannot be here for another 2 weeks.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Another hot, humid day today. The sky partly to mostly sunny. Just a few widely scattered showers or storms this afternoon or this evening. The high today 91, tonight low 73. Tomorrow, scattered showers and storms becoming more numerous. The high 88. I'm James Spann of the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 71 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Sophomart Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at sophmartdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
All right, Mark, you're hot in 3, 2, 1.
All right, let's get back into the conversation. Alabama announcing who Saban is taking to Hoover with him. No media days last year. This year down to 2 guys, Mechie and Mathis. Fedorian Mathis, the guys that they're taking up. What are your thoughts? Is Saban sending a message, or is he trying to send a message to us or to the team with the choices he makes? One of the things that Saban does, Joe, with who he takes, sometimes it's the clear-cut guy who's a starter. Other times it's the guy he's trying to establish or help to establish as a starter. And so I just wonder, when I saw Mathis, my first thought with Mechie was, man, there's so many young wide receivers that's gonna be on this team. And Mechie is the assumed leader, right? Because of his experience and, being here, third-year guy, the assumed heir apparent to this run of wide receivers. But is he a leader? Is he a guy that is established as a leader? And so you wonder, is this part of Saban's way of helping to establish him, even though he may be doing great? I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he hasn't. But this also, if you're a young wide receiver in that room, Joe, what does this communicate to you from a Mechie standpoint?
It communicates that I need to be listening to this guy. This
Yes.
guy that Coach Saban like. This is the guy who's obviously our leader, so I need to follow what he's doing on and off the field.
Yeah, and you just hit it. Not just in both ways. This guy is? Let me watch how he practices, because I know last year we talked about how Devontae Smith and others just said, guys, we have to take the lead, and this is a chance for us to do something special. And it was follow me. Meet my actually one of the words was match my intensity. We didn't hear as much publicly about that, probably partly because of COVID and stuff like that. But one of their themes for last year, and Devontae in that wide receiver room was one of the main ones, was match my intensity on and off the field. And I think that Saban is helping him, be put into that position. And that's brilliant when you think about it, because when it comes to the running back room, like I said, I thought Brian Robinson may be the guy. Even and Curtis Lewis said, I think Robinson is not the clear-cut starter, and Saban never takes someone who isn't the clear starter. Well, I think he did Jalen go up the year that what's his name won? I mean, became the starter. Tua. Um, I I mean, I don't know that he necessarily takes the clear cut starter or not. I've never really paid that much attention to whether or not he does or doesn't. Usually because it's obvious that that the guy gets is a starter. But I think that Robinson may already be established as a leader. He may already have that running back room in shape, and he may be the clear cut leader. So sometimes it's as much about that. Evan Neal, clearly the clear cut leader in the lineman room. Not going to take the freshman quarterback up there. So when you really start thinking about it, I was thinking he was going to take one of the linemen, Neal or Owens, and then I thought Robinson would be the next guy up. Uh, I guess he could have taken Billingsley. I didn't even think about Billingsley as a possibility, but Billingsley may be well established. I like I said, I think it's as much about him establishing that leadership on behalf of Mechie. Curtis Lewis said, Mathis being chosen to go to SEC Media Days. And I'm adding the statement here for effect. Does this mean DJ Fluffy is no longer the starter? Question mark, question mark. All caps, boom. So Curtis Lewis is not a big DJ Dale, which he now has affectionately labeled him DJ Fluffy. Curtis Moore replying, Curtis Lewis, man, that's cold. Laugh out loud. Shoot, maybe Tim Smith might take that DJ Dale spot. Who knows? And of course, Curtis Lewis saying, you're right. He may actually be third string. So not a lot of confidence from there. But the Fedarian Mathis thing is another one of those. We have, I think, would you say the outside linebackers and a defensive line potentially our deepest area, Joe, and could really be key to what those front four and outside linebackers, what they're able to do to quarterbacks determines whether this defense plays like some of the defenses we've become familiar with at Alabama?
Yeah, I think the outside linebacker room, you've got it with Chris Allen and Will Anderson, and especially just considering what they've got coming off the bench behind them, I think that they've got to be one of the focal points, one of the critical points of this defense, putting pressure on offenses, getting after them on the edge, setting the edge against the run, but also getting after the passer. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when that happens, if you're weak up the middle and your middle doesn't get equal push, it almost hurts you. Um, so is Saban trying to establish this defensive line because he knows that I don't think there's any concern with how good the outside linebackers are going to be, and I'm not saying there's concern, but if you have a great push outside and you're weak up the middle, um, quarterbacks should just step up in the pocket when you get that rush coming, or the other team runs the ball up the middle. So maybe the Fedarian Mathis thing is about getting all. I mean, we got a lot of talent in the defensive linemen, but they've not been dominant. We've not been dominant. And the one guy that was disruptive last year is gone in Barmore, and so maybe he's trying to establish that what you said. And Fedarian Mathis did start to show a little bit down the stretch last year, and maybe Saban is going, we're going to need more of that, and we're going to need you to help, the Tim Smiths and Jamar Latham, and I laugh, DJ Dale's of the world become dominant players. So we'll keep our eyes on those two guys. I am surprised that at since he did take a guy that wasn't a senior. I am surprised he didn't take Josh Jobe because of Josh's pedigree, but maybe let me think through this. DBs are really, unless you're the safety, island corners, though, Joe, are really tough guys to establish as the bona fide leader of the defense. So maybe a Jordan Battle. Who would you like to have seen out of the group that didn't get to go? Who do you think you would have liked to have seen go up there? I'm not sure Joe can hear me or not, but you know, I like to hear from you guys. Who would you like to have seen go up there? I think Chris Allen would have surprisingly as a returning guy that came back for another year. Um, he would have been an interesting choice, but he didn't get to go. Jordan Battle may be an interesting choice if you were going to go. Um, and I'll get Joe to respond here in a moment. Joe's handling producer business, answering the phone. And speaking of answering the phone, he has George from Macon on the phone. George, you in with the Martin Houston Show? What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, Martin, how you doing, my friend? Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, as far as Mitchie, I think that we was thinking about, of course, we can all speculate, but that is probably the youngest group of, receivers that we've had in a long time, and probably the youngest position group on the team. And, he wanted to make sure that he gets some type of leadership, and before you can catch any balls, you got to be able to block. And that's one thing Mitchie has shown, that he does not mind being physical. So that's a trait that, you have to have, if you play receiver at Alabama. And again, like I said, remember after spring training, the reason we got the guy from Ohio State is Saban thought he needed somebody to get over the top, but also some leadership. And so maybe doing this would offer them more leadership in that receivers room.
Yeah, and
Thinking about, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, you go ahead and finish. I got plenty of airtime.
Okay. Because I'm kind of with you. Brian Robinson has waited his time, so there must be a reason he didn't want to have him. But I was thinking also maybe of Evan Neal and Christian Harris. Those two guys. I think that Christian has played since his freshman year. He's really come along strong. He is a playmaker on the defensive side that can not only tackle but also cover. And Evan Neal supposedly supposed to be a top 5 offensive lineman. But like you spoke before, maybe they're not good with the microphone in front of them. And maybe, Saban felt like they didn't want to do it. They're so into what Nick does or Coach does that he has a reason for everything. And that's kind of my take on it, Martin. What do you think?
Yeah, Joy, I think you're right. First of all, Saban could have asked some of the same guys we've mentioned. Number one, some of the guys we've mentioned that he didn't take, he could have asked those guys. He could have asked Brian Robinson. He could have asked one of those guys. Of course, with this name, image, and likeness, I would have, I get out of my comfort zone if I got a chance to go be in front of SEC Media Days, because these two guys definitely get a heads up on the name, image, and likeness kick, SEC Media Day kick. But CJ Watson kind of agreed with you, and I do too in some of it. One thing Saban does when he takes guys to media days is he takes guys that are going to look good, sound good, and will say the right things if the media throws an odd question, and guys that are leaders. So, Christian Harris, I've never, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I've ever heard Christian Harris do an interview. I'm sure he has, because they kind of rotate him through. But I don't know that I've seen him, out front. So maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe he was asked and said, "No, coach, I don't want to do it." If I'm not mistaken, Christian Harris was one of the guys who made the statement, "Man, I want to focus on playing football and not on this name, image, and likeness stuff." And so maybe that's what happened there. But I agree with you. Saban always has a reason. There's always a rhyme and reason, and usually well thought out plan. And from his record, it's worked out pretty good from the guys he's chosen. I don't think we've had a guy that went up to SEC media days under Saban that ended up being a bust in the following season, like some coaches probably have had in times past, where the guy they took up there embarrassed them later on. So, all right, thanks, George. Appreciate you, sir. You have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, coming back on the other side, we got a couple questions already waiting for Hank, South 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. So he'll be up next. And while you're listening to this break, I want you to be thinking about going out and getting that car, a new car, and or refinancing the one you have. Well, think about Alabama One. Alabama One will be able to assist you um, with reducing your rate, and you will definitely be saving some money and get a little money back on top of it, up to $250 back. Rates as low as 1.99, 60 days, no payment. Refi, reduce, and ride will beat or match your rate. So that's Alabama One. Give us a call or visit us online at alabama1.org. Alabama One together.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, all the paving on 2059 is ended for the day and traffic is cleared. The only issue we see is congestion on 69 southbound at Skyline. If you see conditions, give us a call. Townsend Nissan has an awesome selection of new cars, trucks, and SUVs, and they need your trade. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard, right next door to Alabama One, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
If you're in HR, you're probably wearing a lot of hats: recruiter, team builder, trainer, mediator, policymaker, and of course, paper pusher. But not anymore. Bamboo HR is the #1 HR software for small and medium businesses. It manages all your employee data easily and automates countless tasks, so you can focus on people, not paperwork. Bamboo HR frees you from spreadsheets, so job, creating a great place to work. If the data shuffle and paperwork mountain have you ready to hang up all your hats, you're ready for Bamboo. If you handle HR records and paperwork, Bamboo HR is a dream. Let us free up your time and put your days of pushing paperwork behind you, so you can focus on the people and making your company a great place to work for everyone. Try PC Magazine's top pick for HR software free today. Just go to bamboohr.com/panda. This is a limited offer only available to radio listeners at bamboohr.com/panda. That's bamboohr.com/panda.
Nick Saban calls it the process. John Maxwell said that everything rises and falls on it. And Coach Wooden said it's what you learn after you think you know it all that makes the difference. What am I talking about? Leadership and personal development. Is your organization, your school, your church, your family, are they receiving the proper level of leadership development and personal development? If not, the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring can help you with that. We have our pep talks, which is a 1 to 1.5 hour lunch and learn, which we can customize to meet your needs, or we have some topics that we present that we know can help your organization. And if you're looking for one-on-one mentoring and coaching, we can also assist you with that. Visit peptalks35.com. That's peptalks35.com, or send an email to Martin at martinhouston.com. empowermentcenter.org. That's the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Martin Hot in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. The Martin Houston Show brought to you each and every day by the great folks over at Overflow Express Wash. Overflow Express Wash. Andy Phillips and his team will have you looking good inside and out. So go check them out at Overflow Express Wash. And speaking of Overflow Express Wash, Andy Phillips and his team, man, they've been really, really good. And despite the rain, they wanted to say thank you for faithfully supporting them through this rainy summer season. And they'll make sure that they take care of you if you show up at their location in Northport and or Tuscaloosa. So that's overflowexpresswash.com. All right, it's time for us to catch up with recruiting guru Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Good morning, Hank. How you doing, sir?
Hey, good morning, Martin. I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Well, before we definitely going to get into football, but one of the viewers had a question for you regarding basketball. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way before we get into the football conversation. He said, you may or may not have an answer to this question, but with Jayden Shackelford most likely out of here, is there anyone on the horizon being recruited to fill that roster spot, whether it be through JUCO or the portal for men's basketball?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a foregone conclusion that Jaden Shackelford's gone. I think that's still to be determined. Obviously, he's in the transfer portal, but you have the option to come back. As far as names, there's been guys that have popped up. Kevin O'Banor, he was the guy that put Bama in his top 10. He was a forward out of Oral Roberts. He had Bama in his top 10, and then he narrowed his list to 4, but it turns out, and he had Bama in that group as well, but it turns out Bama wasn't really recruiting him that hard or at all. So he got down to taking Arkansas. There's been some guys that have popped up, but there hasn't been really any solid traction with any new names at this point. So I think it's just kind of wait and see what happens with Shackelford, and then maybe go from there at that point.
So Bama basketball has arrived that you put them in your list if you want to help your recruiting process, huh? I mean, because every kid that commits in football right now, Alabama was in their top 3 to 5. So whether they had an offer or not, so I guess when it comes to recruiting, it's kind of up to you. Either they recruit you or you're trying to get them to recruit you. If you want to go, I guess that makes sense though. If you really think about it, Hank. If I want to go to Alabama and they're not recruiting me, and I say they're my top 5, hey, maybe Nick Saban might see that, or somebody might see that and go, "Who is this guy that's saying we're recruiting him?" and watch a little film. Or maybe you do like the young man from Calera High School, right? That Alabama's in his top 5. He fools around and gets a chance to come to camp, and makes a commitment, even though Alabama hadn't made an offer at that point, makes a commitment to the Maryland Terrapins, talking about Kobe Prentice, Alabama kid, 33rd ranked recruit in the state. He commits to Maryland, and then what happens? He's now on Alabama's radar. Talk to us a little bit about Kobe Prentice, the wide receiver.
Yeah, perfect example of how much strong camp performance can boost your stock in Alabama's eyes. Kobe Prentice worked out in front of the staff, ran a 4.38 40, which that kind of free time will open a lot of doors.
Yes, it will.
He made a commitment to Maryland on June 30th, and then the next day got an Alabama offer. At that point, we interviewed Kobe, and he said, the Bama offer changes a lot. Obviously, he was going to take things slow, kind of think it over, see what happened. And then 2 nights ago, he decommitted from Maryland. So the Maryland commitment lasted a couple weeks. Wasn't a shock to see him reopen his recruitment. after Alabama offered. I think the big question now is, when does he commit to Alabama? I don't think he's trying to hide it very much. Bama certainly has momentum in this recruitment. So I wouldn't be shocked to see him as a guy that next up that could commit. So he's one we're watching as far as guys that can make a decision this month. Don't have a decision date yet. I know he's talking to his mom about it. That they're squaring things away, but yeah, certainly a guy that I think there's a very good chance that ends up in Alabama's class.
Yeah, wow. 4.3840 in an offer from Nick Saban after camping with him. I could possibly see that star creeping up a little bit, at least if not into the 4-star, but definitely a rank. If you have hands and you run a 4.38, we can show you how to run some routes. So we'll be.
We anticipate, Georgia, Florida, LSU, all those schools to come in now and probably offer him as well at some point, which I mean, deservingly so. He's a stud. So, but it just goes to show, I think some people follow Bama's lead on a lot of kids.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be watching it, and I'm sure you'll break the news. Before we get to it, talking about breaking news, you gave us a heads up on what you thought was going to happen. It happened, so we're going to talk about that. But let's get to caller Super Joe. You're in with Hank South 247 Sports. What you got for him? Super Joe, you there? Well, that's as Super Joe does. Super Joe quite often calls and hangs up by the time I get to him. So we'll we'll continue our conversation with Hank South. Hank, last week you said that Alabama may be getting a big recruit, a recommitment, not a decommitment, a recommitment from in-state 5-star Mr. Alexander from Thompson. We got that. How big a deal was it that Bama was able to keep the state's top recruit and the number 1 edge rusher in the country?
It's huge. You want to keep the top guys home. Jeremiah Alexander by both 24/7 Sports Composite and the 24/7 Sports Rankings is the number 1 player in the state of Alabama. We say it all the time, in-state recruiting is the lifeblood of your program. So, when you have a highly rated guy like that, a guy that, loves Alabama, has been very involved with Alabama for so long, you certainly want to keep that guy home, and Bama did a good job of doing that. Even through, he's been recruited by Bama for a long, long time, but, we saw Carl Scott, who was this area recruiter for a while, leave the staff for the Vikings. Freddie Roach took over in that recruitment, has done a really good job. He's been, Jeremiah Alexander's Freddie Roach's top-rated recruit he's ever landed. But I think this is turning out to be a potentially huge cycle for Freddie Roach. You've got guys like Walter Nolan that he's recruiting, and other really big names as well. So this can be one of those cycles we see Freddie Roach, creep into that top 10 recruiters in the country territory. But overall, Jeremiah Alexander huge for the class. Prior to him decommitting from Alabama, when he was in the class the first time, he was one of those faces of the class, the leaders that was talking to other guys, trying to get guys interested in coming with him to Alabama. Obviously, he reopened his recruitment and took a look around, looked at Clemson, looked at Georgia, looked at some other schools, but came back to Alabama, and now I think he's going to join forces with Ty Simpson and really help this class continue to excel and climb into that top 10 even higher.
Yeah, and we talked about receivers. Alabama's not gotten a receiver, so I'm going to circle back to that. Prentice, of course, now on Alabama's radar, and based on what he said, Saban said, and what I'm hearing from you, he definitely has a committable offer. Track star, finishing top 10, just out of the top 5 in the state 6A track and field championship. But is he most likely the first guy, or who else Alabama is getting? I mean, recruiting from a wide receiver standpoint. We got so many young guys, but you don't want to have a gap in talent in wide receiver because you can lose them pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone says they signed so many big time guys in 2021. Who's going to want to come to 2022? But if you if you look kind of back in history, 2017 was the Judy, the Ruggs, the Smitty class. The next year, Bama went out and signed Jalen Waddle. So there's always that guy that can come in and be a major contributor. And Bama has the luxury of being really picky with who they select a wide receiver. And I think that speaks even higher to how highly coveted a guy like Kobe Prentice is. They're not just going to take anybody in this class. They're going to really have to have some guys that they're really high on that they can get on board. And I think it just shows how highly they think of a guy like Kobe Prentice. But beyond him, they're in the mix with several top guys. I think another guy to keep a close eye on is Marion Brown. I put him in the crystal ball pick for Alabama earlier this week. We caught up with him last week. He took an official visit to Bama in June. We did a story on him. His mom was saying, Bama has her vote after that trip. But we talked to Barry himself last week, and he said he's going to make a decision sometime in August. He didn't say when, just sometime in August. And he said he was down to 2 schools, and he didn't say those schools, but the 2 schools he officially visited in the month of June were Alabama and TCU. So I think that's safe to presume those are the 2 for him. But I think Bama has the inside track for Barry and Brown. He's really close with Tyson, so he's a guy from Tennessee as well. So
Okay.
I think that's one that they're in good shape for. Beyond that, you could say in-state a guy like Amari Kelly, the athlete out of Hewitt Trustville. He's a guy that camped at Alabama last month and had a really good showing. I actually asked the day he camped, I think it was June 14th. I asked several of the guys that were there, the DBs and other campers, who really stood out. I got at least 5 Amari Kelly responses. So
Oh wow.
he had a really good camp. Obviously, already had the off from Bama that kind of cemented that more so with his performance. But he's a guy. He's been pretty quiet lately, but I think he could be in the class sooner rather than later. And then you kind of look toward the state of Louisiana. Bama obviously has a pretty strong track record there with several positions, but wide receiver in particular, obviously with Devontae Smith. But there's 3 guys that are worth watching. I think the main guy that I'm keeping an eye on is Shaz Preston. I wrote a story about him yesterday. He's a top 100 receiver from St. James, Louisiana, that has Bama in his top group. I think Bama is right there with LSU as far as the top schools for him. Kendrick Law, another guy that's worth keeping an eye on, and then Aaron Anderson, who's a LSU commitment that visited Bama twice in the month of June. He also took an official visit, so 2 visits, one of which was an official visit for Aaron Anderson. Shaz Preston was on campus, and so was Kendrick Law. So there's more guys beyond that, but I think those are kind of the main receivers to watch at this point in time. As far as decision timelines, Kobe Prentice, Barry and Brown, I think those are the 2 that are closest to making commitments.
All right. We know that Jaleel Billingsley, got one more question for you. Jaleel Billingsley became a big-time weapon down the stretch for Sarkisian, hopefully O'Brien, who, of course, we know had some time with Peyton, with Brady, with the Patriots, so he's not foreign to the tight end role. How is Alabama sitting with Jaleel Skinner, the nation's number 1, tight end?
Yeah, I think they're in pretty good shape. Another guy that took an official visit to Bama in the month of June had Bama. He put out his top 5 on Wednesday night. Had Bama in it. Florida State was trending earlier in the summer. That's kind of where the crystal ball sits right now. But Clemson, Alabama's in it. I think those are kind of the 3 schools to watch closest for Jaleel Skinner. But like you said, Jaleel Billingsley has done. He's done some wonders for Alabama tight end recruiting. They've always signed solid tight end prospects, but I think he really has Bama on the map as far as big time tight end prospects checking them out. We saw Elijah Brown commit early, Amari Niblack's in the class. So he's a guy that's highly considering Alabama as far as his potential destination. So we'll be keeping a close eye on him. But I think Bama has as good a shot as any to land Jaleel Skinner, even with Elijah Brown and Amari Niblack in the class already.
That's what I was going to say. Is it possible that Bama could go 3 deep in this class with, of course, what they want to do offensively with O'Brien could change a little bit with that recruiting. That may be a signal of where he wants to take the offense.
Yeah, and if you Martin, I'd like to see. He's a guy that he does project as a tight end, maybe a big receiver, but could also even play defense. So you got options with these guys. Obviously, I think Elijah Brown's pretty set on tight end, but so get him on board and kind of see where they project to. We saw Cam Leach, who was signed in 2018 as an outside linebacker. Now he's a pretty solid tight end. So
Yeah.
It's always subject to change. But yeah, and I think tight end's a neat position in this class as well. That was one of the spots, early on in the cycle. We circled defensive line, tight end, and quarterback as the three main spots of need. So 3 guys in that position, I don't think is totally unheard of.
All right. Well, that's Hank South 247 Sports. Hank, tell them where they can catch you and what you got coming up, sir.
Yeah, BamaOnline.com. It's the dead period, so there's not a ton happening right now. But again, decisions are being made left and right. So we could see some more commitments this month, and then there's going to be a cookout on July 31st. So certainly something we're working our way up to, and then always something happening with recruiting. But BamaOnline.com, and my Twitter handle is @HankSouth247.
All right, that's Hank South @HankSouth247, and I'm sure he will keep us in the loop and give us a heads up on who's going to be attending the big cookout in July. At the end of July. Thanks, Hank. We'll catch up with you next week.
Yes, sir, no problem.
All right, coming back on the other side, we'll have the Alabama One Insurance 2-minute warning.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, all the paving on 2059 is ended for the day and traffic is cleared. The only issue we see is congestion on 69 southbound at Skyline. If you see conditions, give us a call. Townsend Nissan has an awesome selection of new cars, trucks, and SUVs, and they need your trade. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good morning. If you're eastbound on I-2059, be prepared for major delays this hour. Traffic reporter Captain Ray tells us that highway work has traffic backed up past McFarland Boulevard exit westbound to I-359 and across the flyway. Traffic also heavy along Skyline Boulevard as motorists seek an alternative route. A missing person report out for Terry J. Gilbert. He was last seen in the Aberdeen area on July 1st. He's 5'7", 150 pounds, gray hair, blue eyes. I'm Don Rickman. Councilor Media, Tuscaloosa.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about Tuscaloosa Custom Carving. If you're looking for a way to add value to your home, make your flower beds pop, make your landscaping stand out from your neighbors, then Tuscaloosa Custom Carving can help you do just that. They have numerous styles, but they feature the Moroccan Stone Curb series, which includes 4 great styles and unlimited color choices. That's Tuscaloosa Custom Carving. They are the one that can help you stand out from your neighbors. Tuscaloosa Custom Carving, 205-331-6823. You may also find yourself with the need for a custom size stone or custom shaped stone. Then Tuscaloosa Custom Carving can help with that as well. Paul Fuller and his team are waiting on your call right now for that free quote. And if you're telling them Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show told you to stop by, you'll get a big discount. So call Tuscaloosa Custom Carving at 205-331-6823 or visit them online at Tuscaloosa Custom Carving, LLC.
Do you remember a time that you would go to the drive-in movie theater and have a blast as a kid? You can pass on the experience to a new generation every Saturday at dusk at Government Plaza. We are showing a movie in the park on a 30-plus foot screen. Our next movie is The Princess and the Frog. We have food vendors on site. This is your chance to bring out the kids and enjoy a family-friendly event, and it's free thanks to our sponsors, Pepsi, Bryant Bank, Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports, Burnham Lawn Exterminators, First Kids Urgent Care, the City of Tuscaloosa, and Town Square Media. Join us Saturday, July 17th at Government Plaza.
Everybody loves Taco Casa. Everything we do in our store, we prepare in our store. We hand cut all of our tomatoes. We block and shred our own cheese here in the store. So we still hand cut our chips, our sopapillas, our taco shells, our chimalupa bowls. Our chili takes about 4 to 6 hours to make every single day. The goal in that is to provide the freshest, best quality to our customers. So we just look at it as, hey, basically, we're your kitchen. You're just coming to eat in your kitchen. Taco Casa, under the biggest cactus in town.
Everything is better at Benton Nissan. At Benton Nissan of Bessemer and Benton Nissan of Hoover, you'll get even bigger selection. We have more than 180 new Nissans on the ground awaiting immediate delivery. Even bigger savings. With financing as low as 0% APR across our most popular models. Plus, every new Nissan comes with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Drive a little, save a lot. At Benton Nissan of Bessemer and Benton Nissan of Hoover.
Benton Nissan, your friend in the car business.
For well-qualified customers, see dealer for details. N7621.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Martin, you got 2 minutes and you're hot right now.
Welcome back into the Alabama One Insurance 2-minute warning. It's been a great show, and if you're looking for someone to take care of you on your insurance side and make sure that you have a great experience, it's Alabama One Insurance, alabamaoneinsurance.com. We'll review your insurance coverages. We will reduce your premium, and you will be able to relax knowing you're properly covered. All right, as we wrap up a review of the show today, we had Hank South 247 Sports talking to us about Mr. Kobe Prentice, 4.38 40-yard dash, camp for Alabama, one day after committing to Maryland, former Bama assistant coach, head coach Loxley did not know he'd get bit by the Saban bug. The young man decommits 2 weeks later and appears to be leaning towards signing with Alabama. Committing to Alabama would be the first wide receiver in this class. So we'll watch that. Of course, SEC Media Days is up on us. That'll be kicking off next week. We'll talk more about who else is going to be there from the SEC, which coaches, which days. We'll have that conversation on tomorrow. And you can talk more about, hey, maybe why Saban chose Mechie and Mathis, the M&M crew headed to represent the Crimson Tide. Media Day may mean more now for these players with name, image, and likeness. All of that and more is up for grab. On tomorrow, we'll also have Scotty Hollins for a special visit as he will encourage us through the Johnson and Marshall Dentistry Christian Moment of the Week. It's going to be a free-for-all Friday, Flashback Friday. Love for you to make plans to be a part of the show, the Martin Houston Show, the Sound of Bama Sports, every Monday through Friday from 6 to 7. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding, all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Roll Tide, and have a blessed day.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9.
You too. Thanks, Joe.